My name's Eli Delaney, and I have the honor of meeting some pretty cool people. These are the entrepreneurs, the artists, the creatives, the game changers that are making a positive impact in the people that they meet. And I'm a firm believer that the people that you meet can get you anywhere you want to go. And this show is my way of sharing them with you. It's my way of also helping you meet cool people. All right, welcome back, everybody. Eli here, and we are here for another Meet Cool People show. Today's guest, I'm super excited about this one because she's become one of my coolest favorite people in the Dallas-Fort Worth area very, very quickly. And this person is Sheryl Powers. She is an entrepreneur champion. She loves to help others succeed. She has 30 years in the DFW, radio, both air and in sales. Provided the window in all kinds of different challenges entrepreneurs face in the marketplace. One of the fun things about her is she says she is a California to Texas transplant via Montana, of all places, from beach to butcher shop. And her company is Empowered Advantage, empowering employees and giving businesses the advantage. So with that, my friend, Sheryl Powers, welcome to the show.
No, you're my friend. This is so fun. And I love this whole hashtag Meet Cool People thing. How did that get started?
So Meet Cool People actually came from me traveling around the country in 2019, speaking at events all over the place. And it ended up becoming a thing where people were asking us like, so, what do you do? What's going on? And I'm like, well, I'm here to speak. I'm going to be doing this, talking about XYZ, blah, blah, blah. But reality is I love going around the country and I love meeting cool people. And that took off. And because of that, it ended up becoming a whole thing. It became the hashtag. I got known as Meet Cool People. One of the things that I got really known for was gathering people together for dinners and stuff like that. And so it took off and kind of became a mantra and started its whole thing. So so that's kind of how it started.
It's so simple, but it's so true, because when you're building a networking tribe or your community, that's what you're looking for, right?
Yeah, that's what it's all about. And that's kind of cool. I'm glad that you asked that question, because you are like the epitome of an amazing networker here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Like, you and I met at a Success Champions event, and then we hit it off immediately, had multiple conversations. I had the honor of speaking at Connect Fest earlier this month, as of August 24, and you invited me to do that, which was a great event, had a blast with it. And you put on amazing events, you connect so many amazing people. Let's kind of dive into, how did you get started with that side of things?
Well, it's a great question, because sometimes you have to stop and look back and say, how did I get started on that? So for me, it was really because in radio, I happen to love doing events. And that's kind of how I built my brand, I guess, within the radio sphere, and helping my clients create cool, neat events, something that would set them apart, that would create engagement, that would ultimately move the needle, right? So that's what we were all trying to do in the radio world. So when I got out in 2013, and started to become an entrepreneur, obviously, right? You have these skill sets you build. So you leave radio, but radio doesn't really leave you. So that part of it came with me. And I just can't help myself. Like, husband and I love throwing parties. And I love thinking about cool themed things. And so any opportunity, honestly, to bring people together is a good one. But you find, as an entrepreneur, Eli, and this is really important, because now you start taking these wonderful little skill sets that you didn't know you were building, and now you're going to use them for the purpose of building your business. So that's how I started saying, okay, now let's be a little more strategic. Instead of just throwing parties, let's create some things that intentionally bring people together and help them build their business while meeting cool people. So I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it definitely does. And the fun thing about that is, like, if you can get to that point where you're doing that kind of stuff, it's like, okay, I enjoy bringing people together and I like having a party. I like throwing a party, but you could turn it into a business at the same time. That's not a bad thing. And honestly, that's the sign of a true entrepreneur, because you figure out what is it you enjoy doing. And then you figure out, how can I make money while I do the same thing? And I've done that even in my own businesses. Like, I started a business with my archery related stuff. I build custom strings for people that are competitive archers across the country. And I did that because I was doing something, there was a need for it. And I was like, well, I'm going to be doing it anyway. I might as well figure out how I can sell a few of these silly things and pay for my addiction to my archery stuff. And, I think that's the kind of an entrepreneur mindset that just happens. We have to look at those kind of things, don't we?
Yeah, we do. And that's fascinating that you did archery. I mean, all the discussions that we've had, I know you're multifaceted, but that's a dimension I didn't expect. Bows and arrows. Oh
yeah, and not just bows and arrows, but the originals, like stick and a string. I don't do compound or any of that kind of stuff. It's all just the old school longbow, actually.
Stick and a string.
Yeah.
But and you brought up something really important, and I'm sure with all the people that you've met through all your travels from Arizona to Oregon to Texas to the great state, by the way, and I'm so thankful that you're here. But you realize that really cool people have extra dimensions to their life that are completely unrelated to what they do, but you need that outlet, you need that creative outlet. And if you can find ways to tie it in to bringing people together, that's a beautiful world.
Oh, definitely. And it's funny. I'm kind of surprised that you didn't know that, because it ends up coming up in a lot of conversations anyway. But it is those are the fun things, because yes, we're in business and we are here to, we're here to provide our services, our products, whatever it is we have. And obviously get paid for it, because that's the important thing. That's how we, pay our rent. But everything I do, and I know you do this too, and that's one reason why you and I gel so well, is everything we do is based around human connection. And the human connection is where you get to know somebody above and beyond just what they do in their business.
Yes, absolutely. And this came up the other day when I was talking to somebody who said, hey, I'm kind of new to the area. I'm trying to build a business. I don't know what networking things to go to. And I said, so what do you do for fun? And they said, well, I really like to play pickleball. And I said, well, I know some people who play pickleball. I'm going to connect you with them. And there are these whole chapters of, kind of what would be unrelated things, but that bring people together. And sooner or later, it circles back to business, doesn't it, Eli?
Oh, definitely. And that's the fun thing about, you think about it, how much business is done on the golf course?
Yeah.
Right. We know about that. We hear about that. That's it's almost cliche. Yeah. But the reality is, golf isn't the only hobby that people have. I know I've done business axe throwing before, it's, which is another one. That's a great, that's a team building thing. People love doing that kind of stuff. And, when you get to that point, you get the commonality and that connection outside of the business transaction. And, it's like, there's a lot of people I know, you and I know, that we've met that are here in the Dallas area, that like their big thing is whiskey. Yeah. And so there's several of them, as a matter of fact, which there's somewhat of that's a Texas thing, but they are connoisseurs, and that's something that they connect over. Like, I have next week, I have a meeting, and they wanted to have it at their place so we could sit down and have a drink. That's part of the ritual. And so it's a whole different creature, but it is about coming through. What are your hobbies and how do you connect with them?
Yeah. You made me think about early on. So this had to have been 2017 or 18 when I'm thinking, how can I collectively bring people together and do what we love? My husband and I used to be judges in the Lone Star. Now don't laugh, because I know you're West Coast and I am too. But we were judges in the Lone Star International Wine Competition in Grapevine. And I know people chuckle at that because they're like, well, Texas wine. Well, believe it or not, I won't go into that, but I know there truly is some really great stuff happening. And a lot of it came out of some people, transplants from California, who came to Texas to help grow grapes. Anyway, so we had a love for that. We began to build a community of tasters. So I created this networking group called the Thirsty Networker, where thirst comes first. I have to know you, like you, before I refer you. Right. And so there's no business that got to take place before we actually had a conversation about whatever that thirsty product was. And to learn about it and discuss, because you learn something about people that's well beyond the business card. And then all of a sudden it's like, you know what? I like you. And I'd like to find out more about how I can help you with your business, as opposed to, oh yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay. Just, I'm going to put that right there in my Rolodex and I'll call you. So,
Right.
and I know, you know what I'm saying, but, that it's just so fun to get to know people as people first.
Oh yeah. Well, and reality is, it's funny. I had somebody email me the other day and they were asking about like my stuff. And they said, so is your stuff, do you have like your follow-up campaigns? Do you have something specifically that works for B2B? And I'm like, well, everything I do is basically B2B, but it's really not B2B. It's human to human, because we connect with humans. And it doesn't matter what the product is. It doesn't matter what company it is. Nobody really cares about those things as long as they hit the criteria of, does it solve the problem that I have? That's what they're looking for. Beyond that, the connection is where the sale is, and I think I'm pretty sure I even said this at the Connect Fest. We were talking about the fact that we have, people go off of know, like, and trust. And those three words are in that specific order for a very specific reason, because of the fact you have to get to know somebody before you decide if you like them. And then once you like them, then you're more likely to actually trust them.
Yeah.
And I always joke about the fact that, like, attorneys and doctors are the only ones that can skip the like part, rest of us actually have to work for it. But that's the stuff that you and I both do. And so let's talk a little bit, because you have a radio show, you have, or a podcast. How is the format on that one? Because I know you have the show, but I wasn't really sure what the format is. Is it podcast? Is it radio?
It's podcast,
Okay.
but a video cast.
Okay,
So
cool.
we film it, and it's, the format of it has evolved. So it's evolutionary, just like anything, as we kind of learn. But it started in a little longer form. So it was maybe 35 minutes ish. And it was segmented so that we could break the goal was to break those segments out so that we could market them individually. And it became very cumbersome, though. And I'm not sure that as we kind of grew, we're thinking, I think we need to be more zeroed in. So Rob Bliss, my podcast partner, and we were just talking about, hey, you know what, maybe it's time to move on from kind of the friends and family stuff, which was awesome because it got us started and everybody's sharing it and you're talking amongst your community. But if you want to grow beyond DFW, then we had to figure something else out and streamline things. So now it's 15 minutes, short form, hits one topic really hard, and we get out. So that's what we do instead of blah, blah, blah. which was fine, right? Everybody starts out with the blah, blah, blah. And there's some shows that do really well with the blah, blah, blah. But I just realized in my belly, I'm like, you know what? I dig this stuff. I want to nugget and get out. Yeah. That's me. So.
Well, and that's like, like this show is a little bit more of the blah, blah, blah. We like to have fun and talk about a bigger picture. Sometimes it's specifically about the business. Sometimes it's a little bit offshoot somewhere. I've had a couple conversations that went completely stage right, and it's all good. We have fun with it. But like when I do my individual videos, those are very short, sweet, to the point. And so,
but you stick to the purpose.
Yeah.
You stick to the purpose here. And the purpose is interviewing somebody for the purpose of discovering them. And, why do they make a meet cool people criteria? Right.
Right. Exactly.
So,
yeah. See, just so everybody realizes, if you're not paying attention, she did her homework because she knows exactly what meet cool people is and what it's about, which is always fun. I love that. So tell us a little bit about your actual business, because we haven't talked about that. And you talked about all the connections and all the fun stuff, but what do you actually do? What is Empowered Advantage? What is it you're actually doing?
So it will help to make sense if I tell you kind of how we got started, right? So I'll shorten up the journey. Let me tighten this up a bit. So coming out of radio, I had all these ideas. I actually had a television show I was going to start called Single Story, and that's a whole different thing. But I was just brimming with entrepreneurial ideas. So it was time to get out in 2013 and start to act on some of those ideas. And what you find, if you go from 30 years of corporate to all of a sudden, hey, I'm on my own. Yay, I'm an entrepreneur. And then you're like, what the flip? I got no benefits. So, I don't have any of the resources that I had in corporate America. So that's how husband and I started taking a look at what resources do entrepreneurs need and how can we pull together a suite of these services that are easy to use and subscription based, because at that point, subscription based, Netflix, right, being one of them, people started understanding that shared economy. And it's an economy of scale, and it makes things accessible because it's the power of the many, which empower the individual. So that's kind of how we came up with the Empowered, having the last name Powers, Empowered Advantage, because we provide these non-insurance, and I can't say that enough. People are like, well, so help me understand how the insurance then works. No. There is no insurance. There are great people who handle insurance. I'm not doing that. These are all subscription-based services, and there's 7 different services that address all the different components of life. And people can just tap into it as they need to, which makes it perfect for 1099 contract labor teams. So that's our big specialty. We work with a ton of W-2, but really our heart and what we're built for now are those 1099 contract labor teams. Because Lord knows it's hard when you're on your own, Eli.
Yeah, definitely. And I was glad you brought that up, because that's, when you and I first talked about it, I was like, okay, this is very cool, because it's designed for not just 1099s, but also like, for solopreneurs, your own business, where you're not to the point of having benefits for your team, any of that kind of stuff. It's a good alternative to kind of get you something going, which I think is great. Yeah. How did you, what was that journey like of actually getting that stuff figured out to where you could start offering it as a service for other people? Because a lot of people don't even realize this stuff even exists.
No, they don't. And that's probably the hard thing. But for me, Eli, I preferred that space. I preferred plowing new ground and educating people, as opposed to, the radio side of life for me was I'm one of 50 people every day standing in line to talk to an advertiser about why me and not them. So I preferred to be a big fish in a small pond and really to go the educational process, as opposed to what I felt like maybe was more of a commodity process. And part of how we had the discovery in these was the 2008 housing crash ended up leaving us with these 2 homes near downtown Dallas, and we needed law firm access. So that was the first one. And when you found out there's a subscription-based law firm program, you're like, well, what else is there? And so that's where the journey began. And it was so great because I'd share with people like you, hey, this is what we're doing. And people would say, oh, Sheryl, hey, I'm calling you right now. I got somebody else you need to talk to in a program you should look at. And it's through my network that helped me build the suite of services that we now 11 years later have vetted and have successfully rolled out to so many companies. So, and people and entrepreneurs, to your point.
That is awesome. I love it. And it's cool because you're providing something that so many small businesses need. And that's one of the things I love about it, because all the stuff you're doing, like when you and I met, you had just been to a LinkedIn event that you were, I don't remember, were you teaching it or were you attending that one? You were teaching that one, weren't you?
I lead the discussion.
Okay.
So I am by no means, I tell people I am not a LinkedIn trainer. There are people who are much better at that, but let's all come together and have a roundtable about what we're finding on LinkedIn, and together let's raise the ships, right? Let's be the rising tide together. So it was a LinkedIn roundtable.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. Cause I had, if I remember correctly, I think I had some an interview or coaching calls or something. So I couldn't attend that, but everybody was talking about it. It was all the buzz. And then that evening there was a business mixer in Fort Worth. And that's when you and I actually met. And I was like, just right out of the gate, you and I hit it off. And I was like, okay, she's doing some pretty cool stuff here. And then, all the activities that you've got going on, I think that with your business, it's great because you don't really have to pitch the business. You're talking about how can we just bring people together and all support each other and be here for each other. And then when people are like, okay, so what is it you actually do? You make it super simple for them. It's not a complicated process. It's like, you need some help over here? I got a couple of things that could probably help you with that. Plain and simple. So I like the way you do it. That's one of the things that I try to, as much as possible, come from a place of how can I add value and add support first. And then, I have people who still, they know me by meet cool people. They know me by the speaking stuff, but they don't really actually know what my product is. And I'm like, well, when they're ready, they'll figure it out. We'll be okay.
That's right. It is the benefit of building a good base so that,
Mm-hmm.
and I know you have, thousands of people that you've helped. And so that's the benefit of that, because it's not like, hey, I got to pay bills right now.
Right.
You need to pay bills, but you have a little breathing room that other people maybe getting started don't have, or they don't think they have. And so then you start feeling that pressure of, I need to peddle my product to you. Are you ready to buy my product? Right.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
so now we have that opportunity to get to know people, and then let it happen naturally. But you are a master learner, not only a master teacher, but a master learner. And here's one of the things that we all learn, sometimes the harder way, but that's, you have to at some point. So I know we hate the what do you do? Like,
Mm-hmm.
stop it. Like, don't make me pull my bow and arrow out. What do you do? So it'll come up at some point, and you better have a very streamlined 10 seconds is best, but 30 seconds certainly, that zeroes in on and is extremely clear on what you do. Because confused people don't buy anything. So that's one of the things I know you do, and that I have learned to do, is once it does circle around, be really clear about who you serve and how you serve them, how you're helping them. And that's how the money comes back to me. Because I'm sure people ask you the same thing. So how do you make money at this? By honing your conversation skills, right?
Yeah, and it is, it's so funny because people do ask me that sometimes, and the reality is, well, you're here at this thing and you're meeting all these people. How are you following up with them? And that's usually when they get that kind of deer in the headlights, look, and they're like, huh, I sent them an email. I'm like, okay, and what's next? I'm like, that's what I fix. That's how I can help you right there. And because that's what it is. This, my whole back end is about the follow-up side. It is about
Yeah.
the back end of the relationship. How do you build that long-term relationship, knowing that as long as you're there, you're providing value, they'll come to you when they're ready. And that's the whole point of everything that I do on my side. So what are some of the cool things that have helped you in your business? Because you've been through a lot and you have grown an amazing network of people. And it's not about just showing up everywhere, but how above and beyond the showing up part, because you and I both know that obviously that's step one.
Yeah.
But step two, what is that for you? And what did that look like when you were starting to build your network and build the business side of it from those connections?
Big question. Big question. So I have to go back and say the kicker for me, when the wheel really started turning efficiently. So you can drive a car and the car is like kind of working okay. It'll get you from A to B, but just maybe. But then you become attuned to what needs to be fixed on the car, right? And so now all of a sudden you get a well-oiled machine. And when that well-oiled machine happened for me was when I started using my iPad. This is so crazy. It's so simple. My iPad Notes app, and every device has a Notes app. So I just started taking my notes there, but then I realized, well, now everything's in chronological order and I can put keywords in. And so when I'm having a one-to-one with people, everything goes in that same space. People know if they see my iPad, I'm taking notes for the purpose of making introductions to people. So I decided that instead of me trying to figure out how I can get people to refer me business, I needed to start referring them first. And if you don't have a big referral base, that's all right. Figure out what groups or networking associations or activities you can take other people to. So I could put in needs to know a B2B CFO, and I put in my hashtag B2B CFO, and all those other introductions come up. And so just moving along like that, like clockwork, really helped me, because people say, oh my gosh, Sheryl, I've never had so many referrals. And these are normally synergy partners, but still they lead to somewhere if you're intentional about following up. So that's really when the network, I guess I don't want to say I built my brand, like, Sheryl's this massive referral person, but people knew they could count on me to do what I said I was going to do, because that's probably where 90% of the people fall down. And I know you'd agree with that.
Definitely. And that is, I mean, that is true. So many people they don't follow up. And that's, I mean, again, that's my area specifically. But the fact that you are taking it is like, okay, who can I connect this person to that's going to be a right fit? And doing it, that is a big one. Doing it as soon as possible, making those introductions. And that, I mean, that's a good place. It's like, so I don't know, you and I probably haven't even talked about this before, but when I was in Phoenix, I was in Phoenix for 18 years. And my first company was a web and graphic design agency, which that part you might know. But I had literally networked the entire valley to the point where I knew everybody. I ran the biggest networking event on the west side of the area. And when I left Phoenix, I had a database of over 5,000 people that I had actually met and like shook hands with conversations. Like my database was much bigger than that, but those are the people that were specifically networking connections that I had met and had real conversations with. And that was, I mean, it's kind of cool to do that, but it's not about just showing up and collecting business cards. It's like, are you having real conversations with them? Are you getting to know them? And are you figuring out a way that you can introduce them to people? And one of the biggest things is I did so many networking events. I would meet somebody new and I would literally grab them by the hand and walk them across the room and introduce them to somebody else. Like, okay, this is the person you need to know right here, right now. And it was like, that was my gig. That I had so much fun with that. And the cool thing is like, when you get to a point of being able to do that, people remember that. And that's why, like with you, you're talking about your, you said it's not like the Sheryl Powers thing. It really is, but that's that is your brand. That, that's part of it. And the cool thing is like, I come from a standpoint when people talk about how much they spend on branding, quote unquote. I'm like, okay, so pick a font, pick a color, and do something good. Because the font and the color don't matter. Just pick something there. When you do something good, that's what makes a difference. And you've obviously done that here. I mean, well, there's no probably about it. You're probably the most connected that I know, actually. You're definitely in the top 3 people, I would say, in the DFW area that I have met personally. And I've only been here for about a year and a half, a little over that. But you have made me completely feel at home. You have connected me to some amazing people. Again, I'm going to go back to, my thanks to you for giving me the opportunity to speak for Connect Fest. Those are opportunities that I didn't have otherwise. And it's because you're out there giving people value and sharing and connecting them, putting them where they need to be. And I see you do it to a lot of other people too. For me, it was this specific process, but what you've done with other people, I watch you do it. I mean, we did your Free for All Friday. Was that last week or was that week before? I know it all flies. And I mean, running basically a mastermind. I've been in masterminds that are very, very expensive deals that have the kind of value that you just provided in that. And that's another way that you're doing some amazing stuff. And I say this not just to say wonderful things about Sheryl, because I'm happy to do so, but I'm bringing this out for the very simple fact that people should be looking for inspiration of what to do right. If they want to grow their business and they want to make an impact, watch what you're doing.
Well, thank you. That is so super kind, because truly, it's a learned thing. I mean, we get out on our own and there's kind of that panic of, oh my gosh, I have to grow a business. And the only way you think you know how to do it is to smile and dial, or go knock on doors. But we live in a different world where we can create connections virtually and in person. We have all these different touch points, and embrace that, use that to your advantage. And then when you see other people doing it, lift them up too, like you're doing, Eli. I think it's beautiful and brilliant, because if we're all lifting each other, instead of just being a voyeur, just, a little peeping Tom, actually take steps to help elevate that person and then connect others to them. That's a great reward system for all of us. And now we're all growing, right?
Yeah, definitely. And that's what I love about it is when you're doing it right, everybody wins. It's
Yeah.
really is that simple.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is
That's
awesome.
exactly right. So this is so
Very,
beautiful. I'm so thankful that we're doing this.
yeah, me too. I knew it was going to be good. It's just been trying to get you locked in so we could actually make it happen. I'm very happy we did. So, as we're starting to wrap up here, is there anything that you think that we should cover before we finish up that you would like to share?
No, I think if there's one thing just from the networking standpoint or just the building your community, just know that everybody matters. Like humans matter. And I know it can feel exhausting that, oh my gosh, one more person. But truthfully, that one more person might need a conversation with you. I mean, we
Yes.
never know what they're going through. And that's that's gold, baby.
Mm-hmm.
That's gold. That will pay off.
Yes, 100%. I will agree with that 100%. Okay, so I've got two last questions for you. Last question is going to be the easy one. That's how can people get a hold of you?
Okay.
But before that, this is the Meet Cool People show. So I like to ask every one of my guests, what does Meet Cool People mean to you?
What does meet cool people mean to me? I think cool people are the real people who can't wait to ask you questions before you get to ask them a question. Like they're so excited about meeting you and getting to know you that I'm just digging on them like immediately. So to me, those are the coolest people. Ask great questions and be the first one out of the gate.
I love it. That is awesome. Very cool. All right. Well, Sheryl, this has been awesome. How people are going to want to find out more about you? You want to go ahead and give us a couple of links. We'll put it on the show notes and everything, but I'd love for people to be able to listen to your show, find out more about what you're doing and your benefits. Because just a little side note, your business isn't just necessarily here in the Texas area, right? You can do stuff national.
Yeah, we're nationwide.
Okay, good. I just want to clarify that before we say it. So go ahead and what's the easiest way for people to get a hold of you?
Easiest is LinkedIn. I'm all in on LinkedIn. That's kind of my big thing. Yep. So Sheryl with an S, Powers as in Austin. If you're looking at the screen, little pinky on the lips. So Sheryl Powers as in Austin. You can find me at our website is the letter M, poweredadvantage.com. So empoweredadvantage.com. And then, I respond pretty quickly to DMs through that. And Network Today podcast on YouTube. So Network Today podcast on YouTube. So that's where we've got about 87 networking tips, videos, podcasts on how to make money from meeting people.
Awesome. Love it. Very, very cool. All right. Well, Sheryl, thank you so much for coming and hanging out today. It is a pleasure to always have a conversation with you at any point.
Well, pleasure is all mine, Eli. This is such a treat, and I'm so thankful for this 30 minutes.
Awesome. All right, everybody get out there. Have an amazing week. And if there's anything I can do to help you out, reach out. Let me know. Take care. And that wraps up another Meet Cool People show. Now, if you like what you heard, be sure to give us a like, subscribe, or review so I can help introduce these amazing cool people to even more amazing cool people. And just remember, meeting cool people is just the beginning. You need to have a system in place to follow up with the amazing people that you meet. This is exactly what we do for our clients. If you'd like to see if my team and I can help you, go to followuprockstar.com and check out the case study video to see exactly how we're helping our clients turn casual connections into cash clients for life. Again, go to followuprockstar.com and we'll see how we can work together to turn you into a follow-up rockstar.